Lillahi ta'ala, correct your intentions. I ask Allah to make this easy for me and for you. I praise Allah and thank Him for enabling us to do another good deed together. I ask Allah to make us see that in our pans of good deeds. Ameen. All right. Now, before we read the text, insha'Allah ta'ala, we want to review something. We want to review quickly some awzan, some patterns. You know about fa'ala and fa'ila and fa'ula. That's called thulathi mujarrad. You know about af'ala. Just a little bit sloppy there. Af'ala and fa'ala and fa'ala. It's a little bit sloppy. You can see where I picked my pen up. And fa'lala and you know about ifta'ala and infa'ala and if'ala and you know about tafa'ala and tafa'ala and you know about istaf'ala and if'ala. I'm confident that it was very clear for you what I have just done here. I started with what has 3 letters. Then I went to what has 4 letters. Keeping in mind that what has 4 letters has 2 categories. A category of 4 original letters and a category of 1 extra letter. Then I went to what has 5 letters. And 5 letters has 2 categories because sometimes 5 letters starts with a hamza, sometimes starts with a ta. So both of these were 5 letters. And then I went to what has 6 letters. I'm confident that that was clear for you. And also that I didn't mention every wazn. But these are the most important for you. And these are Ozan for what? The mildly past tense. So, فعل, فعل, فعل. What would the mudari' be? You know, the mudari' would be يفعل or يفعل or يفعل. Yes, that's clear, inshallah. And what about أفعل? The mudari' is يفعل. And what about فعل? So you should be saying it, not just listening, waiting for me to say it. If I were more patient, maybe I would ask you all one by one so someone will tell me. But I'm trying to get somewhere. So I'm believing in you that you have studied and you're following and you understand. And if you have a question, you can ask. Fa'ala, the mudari' is yufa'ilu. I hope that's not too crushed in there. Is it crammed together? Is it too messy? I just want to keep them close to each other without rewriting a bunch of stuff also. Fa'ala, the mudari' is yufa'ilu. And fa'alala, the mudari' is yufa'lilu. Bismillah. So fa'alala, the mudari' is yufa'lilu. And you know, well, insha'Allah ta'ala, that what? Since the Maldi in these cases has 4 letters, the mudari' starts with a dhamma. And then, افتعل, what would the mudari' be? It would be يفتعل. افتعل يفتعل. Is that too small? Okay. So you know, if you were to say fa'ala or fa'ila or fa'ula, the mudari' would be yaf'alu or yaf'ilu or yaf'ulu. Okay. If you were to say افتعل, the mudari' would be يفعل. If you were to say فعل, the mudari' would be يفعل. If you were to say فعل, the mudari' would be يفاعل. And if you were to say فعلل, the mudari' would be يفعلل. In these cases, the mudari' starts with a dhamma. Because the Mawdi has 4 letters. Af'ala, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you say yuf'ilu, fa'ala, 1, 2, 3, 4. So yufa'ilu, fa'ala, yufa'ilu, fa'lala, yufa'lilu. Mudari' starting with a dhamma because of the Mawdi having 4 letters. That's clear. Okay. Then you have also five letters. Could start with the hamza. So you say in fa'ala, the mudari' would be yanfa'ilu. Or you could say ifta'ala. Then the mudari' would be yafta'ilu. Is it something special that I'm going off the top of my head here? It's not special at all. You should be able to do like this. You should say, okay, there's 3 letters, or there's 4 letters, or there's 5 letters, or there's 6 letters. 3 letters like this. Fa'ala, fa'ila, fa'ula. 4 letters like this. Af'ala, fa'ala, fa'ala, and fa'lala. 5 letters either starts with the hamza or starts with the ta. In fa'ala, ifta'ala, and tafa'lala, and tafa'ala. Okay. Also we have if'al. The mudari' would be yaf'allu. And mudari' always starting with the fatha as long as the Mawdi does not have 4 letters. Yaf'alu, yaf'ilu, yaf'ulu, yanfa'ilu, yafta'ilu, yaf'allu. Still looking at 5 letters starting with the hamza. Still looking at 5 letters, but now starting with the ta. Tafa'ala. The mudari' would be yatafa'alu. And tafa'ala. The mudari' would be يتفاعل. And you have 6 letters. Such as استفعل. The mudari' would be يستفعل. Also, can you write at such a speed, which is really slow actually? What you see appearing on your screen as I write and speak, that is slow. It's a little bit fast though. It's fast enough for me to follow my own tongue. But that's not maybe fast enough to take notes. It's not fast enough to take notes. Unless the speaker is speaking slowly. And especially not putting all the harakat. And you have افتعل. The mudari' would be يفعل. Mudari' always starting with the fathah because the mawdi does not have 4 letters. And also, let me point out something to you. Notice that the last letter before the last letter in the mudari', that the letter before the last letter in the mudari' has a kasra, except when the mudari' started with a ta. When the mudari' started with the ta, we noticed here tafa'ala, when the mawdi, sorry. Except when the mawdi started with a ta. Except when the mawdi started with a ta. We noticed here tafa'ala yatafa'alu. Tafa'ala yatafa'alu. But in other spots, it was, when we talk about for more than thulathi mujarrad. Not talking about thulathi mujarrad. Thulathi mujarrad, the mudari' could be yaf'alu, yaf'ilu, yaf'ulu. We're now looking at the letter before the last letter. But in thulathi mazidun fihi and ruba'i, you say af'ala yuf'ilu, fa'ala yufa'ilu, fa'ala yufa'ilu, fa'ala yufa'lilu, in fa'ala yanfa'ilu. افتعل يفتعل. افعل يفعل. But there's shadda here, so something happened. But when it started before and under that, استفعل يستفعل. افعل يفعل يفعل. But there's shadda here, something happened. When it started with the ta, we found that the mudari', the letter, that in the mudari', the letter before the last letter has a fathah. All of that is the coding. I'm using the word coding. This Inshallah, it's clear for you. It's not difficult. Okay. Now, why did we go through that? Besides that, obviously, review is beneficial. Because out of these patterns, some of them have some special cases. So I didn't want to jump right into what the author wants to talk about now without giving you a quick refresher so you could see the place of what the author wants to talk about. Because he wants to talk about افتعل يفتعل. He wants to talk about افتعل يفتعل. And he wants to talk about تفعل يتفاعل and تفاعل يتفاعل. So we reviewed all these awzan here. Now the author, he told us all of what he wanted to say until he got to here. Now he wants to zero in on these wazns for us. So let's see what he has to say. He said, may Allah have mercy upon him. وَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ إِذَا اجْتَمَعَتَا آنِ فِي أَوَّلِ مُضَارِعِ نَحْوِ تَفَعَّلَ وَتَفَاعَلَ وَتَفَعْلَلَ. Yeah, that one. Where does it go? Really quick. Goes. Should have its own line, really. تَفَعْلَلَ. So that's fine. I missed it here. That رُبَاعِي مَزِيدٌ فِيهِ. Know that when two tasks meet in the beginning of the mudari', such as tafa'ala and tafa'ala and tafa'lala, فَيَجُوزُ إِثْبَاتُهُمَا, then it is permissible to keep both of them. Nahu, such as تتجنب وتتقاتل وتتدحرج ويجوز حذف إحداهما, and it is also permissible to omit one of them. يجوز means you can say it this way or that way. كما في التنزيل, like what came in the revelation. فأنت له تصدى, Surah Abasa. You, O Muhammad, to that one, you give him priority and attention. So the origin is tata sadda. It was revealed with one ta. Tasadda. وَفَأَنذَرْتُكُمْ نَارًا تَلَظَّى. And this ayah here, it means, so I have warned you of a fire flaming. فَأَنذَرْتُكُمْ نَارًا تَلَظَّى. The origin is تَتَلَظَّى. That's a mudariya. وَتَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ. And this ayah, you know, from Surah Al-Qadr, the angels come down. Originally it is تَتَنَزَّل. So which ta got omitted? The first one or the second one? There's two sayings. Depends on how you investigate the wazn. But we'll leave that for another time. That's why he said, يجوز حذف إحداهما. It's permissible to omit one of them. He didn't say the first of them. He didn't say the second of them. Meaning it could be the first one or the second one. وَعْلَمْ, and know furthermore, أنه متى كان فاء افتعل صادا أو ضادا أو طاء أو ضاء قلبت تاؤه طاء فتقول في افتعل من الصلح اصطلح ومن الضرب اضطرب ومن الطرد اضطرد ومن الظلم 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 الظلم. Okay. And note that whenever the fa, the first original letter of ifta'ala is a sad in particular, or a dad, or a ta, or a dha. What are those letters? Those are huruf al-itbaq. Those are the heaviest of all the Arabic letters. Sad, dad, ta, and dha. And ta is the thickest of all of them, and dha is the lightest of all of them. قُلِبَتْ تَاؤُهُ طَاءً. Then the ta will turn into a ta. So don't get mixed up here. We have here ifta'ala. That's the wazn in question. So this wazn has two spots we want to focus on. The fa and the ta. So whenever this fa is a sad or a dad or a ta or a dha, then this ta is going to turn into a ta. Whenever the first original letter is a sad or a dad or a ta or a dha, then the ta of this pattern will turn into a ta. Then he gives you examples. فَتَقُولُ فِي افتعل مِنَ الصُّلْحِ. So you say, if you apply the word sulh to the pattern of ifta'ala, then you'd say istalaha, istalaha. So what do we have here? Ifta'ala. So there are all of your letters here. The hamza, we summoned it so that we can start, because you can't start with a sukoon. First letter has sukoon, so we have to produce a hamza. Okay, and we're dealing here with the pattern of ifta'ala. First letter, which is going to be represented by a fa, has a sukoon. And this pattern in particular, whenever that first letter is a sad or a dad or a ta or a dha, that triggers something in this pattern. It's going to trigger turning its ta into a ta to complement the thickness of that thick letter. Sad, dad, ta, dha, those are thick letters. In the pattern of ifta'ala, that has a ta, and ta is a light letter. So to complement those four thick letters in this pattern, the ta will turn into a ta. And so if you took the word sulh and you applied it to the pattern of ifta'ala, you don't say Iftalaha with a ta, you say istalaha. Maintain the thickness and turn the ta into a ta. Istalaha. And the pattern is still ifta'ala though. When you render the pattern, you're going to keep it as a ta. When you render the pattern, you're going to keep it as a ta. Ifta'ala is the pattern of istalaha, not ifta'ala, not ifta'ala because the ta turned into a ta. No. When you render the pattern, keep it as a ta. Ifta'ala is the pattern of istalaha. And ad-darb then, for example, you'd say ittaraba. Ifta'ala. The pattern of ittaraba is not ifta'ala, it's ifta'ala. And min al-tardi ittarada. Ittarada. You got a shadda there because here, bismillah. So here, the word in question is at-tard. We're going to remove the alif lam. So tard. We want to apply tard to the pattern of ifta'ala. So that means that it would turn out as ittarada. Ittarada. But you're not going to write two ta's. So you're just going to, in script, merge those two. Ittarada. Arabic language so beautiful. MashaAllah. Arabic language is very appealing to the mind. Okay, and what else we have here? He said, and from al-zulm, il-talama. If you applied the word zulm to the pattern of ifta'ala. وَكَذَلِكَ سَائِرُ تَصَرُّفَاتِهِ. And likewise are the rest of its how can I say here? Tasarrufatihi, the rest of its stages, if you want. Its other stages of conjugation or morphing, they keep this. So you say istalaha, yastalihu, istilaha, fahuwa mustalih, وذاك مصطلح عليه. مصطلح عليه. He added something here. What is that? I'm not going to talk about it today. وَالْأَمْرُ اصْطَلِحْ, and the command is istalih, anta. وَالنَّهْيُ لَا تَصْطَلِحْ, and the prohibition is لَا تَصْطَلِحْ. So up till now should be, I think it should be clear. I hope it is clear. And anything that's not clear, I really want you to ask me. I insist that you ask me Anything from the beginning until now. And don't feel shy. What is this transformation called? Well, that's a good question. He called it here qalb. Qalb. It's a flipping. What actually got flipped here? The ta. The ta flipped into a ta. Qalb. He said, would you talk about the word Mustafa or do you want to save that for later? Yeah, that fits here. That's how it goes. So, yani, yes. Ifta'ala from the letters Sod, Fa, Ya. So the Fa is a Sod, and the Ain is a Fa, and the Lam is a Ya. That's going to turn that Ta into a Ta. We're going to bring the Hamza. So the verb would be Istafa, Maldi. Istafa. For Mudari', you're going to bring your Mudari' letter. Yeah. So it becomes Yastafi. And for the adjective, you're going to bring your meme. Mustafa. And this is a case of qalb. And that was a good question. What do you call this transformation? So keep note of the various things that happen in Arabic. So amongst them is what we just now talked about, qalb. Qalb. And amongst them is hadf. And amongst them is naql. This is a good preparation for you, preparatory. You've already tasted some of this actually, but for what's coming. So you saw hadf before, like akrama, yukrimu, akrama, yukrimu. The origin is yuakrimu, if you remember. Where'd that hamza go right there? That hamza got omitted, hadf. Or I'll give you even easier example, you know. You say qala, yaqulu, and qul. Where's the middle letter here? It got mahzuf, it's omitted. So you have something called hadf in sarf. You have something called qalb. Also, you are familiar with qalb. It's right here, right in front of our faces. You say here, qala, that's an alif. then became yakulu. That's a wow. So there's a qalb here that happened. Qalb means flipping. In this case, it was the wow that flipped into an alif, not the alif flipped into a wow. Because the origin of qala is qawala, qawala. And then you flip the wow into an alif and you say qala. When you give the command, you say qul, and the middle letter is omitted altogether. So you have in Arabic hadif, you have in Arabic qalb, and you also have naql. Naql. Knuckles when the vowel moves to another letter. The vowel moves to another letter. Even here, when you say yakulu, yakulu, the origin of yakulu is yakwulu, yakwulu. The origin of yakulu is yakwul, yakwul. What happened there? The dhamma on the vowel relocated and went to the qaf. So it becomes yakul. That's called naql. Relocation of the vowel. And we'll see if there's something else that comes also. But take note of those, because those always coming. You're going to be dealing with a case of hadhaf, or a case of qalb, or a case of naql. That's intrinsic to sarf. I'll draw your attention to also that the terminology is consistent with tajweed rules. Tajweed rules. Because don't you say la yumbadan, you flip the noon into a meme. It's qalb. Flipping the noon into a meme because of a bat. Noon sakina flipped into a meme because of a bat. La yumbadan qalb. Now the author's not finished here. Because what if the fa is representing a dal, or a dal, or a zai? Then there's more talk there. And what if the fa were a wow, or a ya, or a tha? Then there's some more talk there. Okay, so I think that's clear, insha'Allah ta'ala. He says, وَمَتَى كَانَ فَاءُ افتعل دَالًا أَوْ ذَالًا أَوْ زَايًا. Whenever the fa of ifta'ala is a dal, or a dhal, or a zay, قُلِبَتْ تَاؤُهُ دَالًا. Then the ta will flip into a dal. You can say turn. Will turn into a dal. فتقول في افتعل من الدرع والذكر والزجر ادرأ والذكر وازدجر. All right, let's see that one there. Dal or thal or zay. So افتعل افتعل, in this case, the fa is a dal, or a dhal, or a zay. Yani, here the fa is a dal. A dal, or a dhal, or a zay. Then the ta is going to flip into a dal. So if you take the letters of the word dhikr and apply them to the wazn of ifta'ala, then the origin would be if ta la. The origin would be ifta'ala. Sorry, what am I thinking? If takara, if takara. The origin would be if takara. So the dal is the fa, and then there's a ta. So the rule is, whenever the fa is a dal or a dal or a zai, for this wazn of ifta'ala, then the ta itself flips into a dal. And so, if takara becomes if dakara, if dakara. And likewise, if you took the word we did dhikr here, ad-dara, and we have zajr. So if you took dar, ad-dara, dal, ra, hamza, then it would become iddara'a, iddara'a. But tell me, what should I do here, though? There's something that I should do here. Who can tell me what I should do here in this last example? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What I should do here in this last example is merge these dals. There's no need to write both of them. That's perfect example for idgham. Whenever you have a shadda, what is that? Shadda is two of the same letter. The first one has a sukoon and the second one has a haraka. So then I would write it like this. Iddara'a. Is that what he did here in the book? Let's take a look. With a hamza written on the alif though. Yes, that's true. Hamza written on an alif there. Alif should be on the line too. Tayyib. Let's see what else he has for us here. Oh wait, there's also another example. Zajr. If we took the letters of Zajr and applied them to the pattern of ifta'ala, then comes out So here's the wazn. Ifta'ala. Obviously, the fa and the ta have different color because of special rule. And the wazn that we want to apply, or the root letters we want to apply, are those of zay, jim, ra. So that means the zay is the fa, and the jim is the ayn, and the ra is the lam. So it comes out is dajara, not is tajara, is dajara. So the ta flips into a dal. And let's see what else he says here. So I'll repeat real quick. وَمَتَى كَانَ فَاءُ افتعل دَالًا أو ذَالًا أو زَايًا. Whenever the fa of ifta'ala is a dal or a dhal or a zay, قُلِبَتْ تَاؤُهُ دَالًا. Then its ta will flip into a dal. فَتَقُولُ فِي افتعل مِنَ الدَّرْءِ وَالذِّكْرِ وَالزَّجْرِ. So you say, for the pattern of ifta'ala, applying to it a dar or a dhikr or a zajr, you'd say iddara'a wa dhakara. Oh, has the dhal merged here. I said idhakara. Yeah, what I told you is right. Idhakara. What's written here is mistake. Not idhakara. This should be idhakara. Squeeze a dal in there, right there. Should be a dal right there. And should be a sukoon here. And another fatha. Idhakara. Okay. So this is not a great copy I'm sharing with you. Subhanallah. But that's how it goes when you take a text by talaqqi. You get your hand on a copy of the text. And you don't say, now I have an authentic copy. You don't have an authentic copy just by obtaining a copy. Even if it were Sahih al-Bukhari. You will get an authentic copy. You will have an authentic copy after you take that copy from someone who took it. And you match your copy to his copy. His or her copy. And then you'll have an authentic copy, and then you teach from it by talaqqi. So that means even if you make corrections to the printing, that's fine. Such a thing actually makes your book more valuable. It's an authentic copy. More valuable to the extent that it becomes priceless. You would never even sell it. Because that's going to be your copy, your authentic copy. Or what else you could do is get someone who has a checked copy and just compare your copy to his copy and fix your copy. Match your copy to someone's reliable copy. Then you'll have a reliable copy, even if you didn't hear it. So the author says, وَمَتَى كَانَ فَاءُ افتعل وَاوًا أَوْ يَاءً أَوْ ثَاءً قُلِبَتِ الْوَاوُ أَوْ الْيَاءُ أَوْ الثَّاءُ تَاءً. Whenever the fa of ifta'ala is a waw or a ya or a tha, then that waw or ya or tha will turn into a ta. ثم أدغمت في تاء افتعل. and then it will be merged into the ta of افتعل. نحو اتقى واتصل واتغر. Okay, this is the last one for افتعل. So let me see something here. So we have here افتعل. افتعل. Hey, I don't know what that glitch is. Okay, now we want to talk about when the fa of افتعل is a wow or a ya or a tha. When that happens, then this fa will turn into a ta. It's going to turn into a ta. The fa itself is going to turn into a ta, and then that ta is going to merge with the ta after it. And so, here's our pattern افتعل. Here's our pattern افتعل, and we want to apply the wasn't the root letters of the root letters wow, cough, yeah, waka, yaki, to protect. So that would become like this. Yani, if we just leave it originally without changing anything, it would become il ta ka iltaqaya iltaqaya ifta'ala iltaqaya. But what happens is that the ya with the fatha actually flips into an alif, becomes an alif. So we're gonna say iltaqa. Why it becomes an alif? That's gonna come. This is غير salim. غير salim. So it has some other rules. We didn't talk about غير salim yet, unsound. So ittaqa, iltaqa. But we said that wow, when the fat, if this pattern is a wow, then it turns into a ta actually. So instead of a wow there, that wow becomes a ta. So then you'd say ittaqa. And what should I do here? What am I supposed to do here? 5, 4, 3. Merge the task, correct. So then I'm going to write it like this. Ittaqa. So the wazn of ittaqa is ifta'ala. So if you were taking Sarf in Mahad or university, for example, and then it came on the test that you crammed for all night, and you didn't get a lot of sleep for because you had to memorize the metin too. You had to come ready for practice and for the metin too. Either you're going to say that metin to the sheikh, or he's going to tell you on the test what to write to display that you have memorized. And then, if the question were, what is the wazn of ittaqa? You're going to say, that's easy. Alhamdulillah, I studied that. The wazn of ittaqa is ifta'ala. And what other examples did he give us there? So he said, and ittasara, and ittaghara. Yeah, this one is ya, and this one is tha. So yasr and thaghr. What about if we use the root letters of ya, sin, ra, or the root letters of tha, ghain, ra? Then the result is that you're going to say, if you put Yasin Ra to the wazn of Ifta'ala, then it would come out, originally would come out as Itasara. Itasara. The fa is a ya. Itasara. So in this case, what's going to happen is that ya is actually going to flip into a ta. And then the ta is going to merge with the ta. So it becomes Itasara. Yani if you studied Sarf, let's say it's a final, which means the whole book is now going to be on the test. That's how those finals go. Yani unless the sheikh says otherwise. But this is a small booklet. So probably since it's the final, the entire book's going to be on the test. You should have memorized the whole thing and you know the application. So you're going to go into that final definitely expecting questions for the wazn of ifta'ala. There's no way you're going to not study the wazn ifta'ala with all the changes that happen to it. And same thing for tha, ghain, ra. So, if you had the pattern of ifta'ala, and you wanted to apply the letters tha, ghain, ra, then originally it would come out as افتغر. 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 But in this case, actually, the tha is going to flip into a ta. And then you're going to merge the two tas, and you're going to wind up saying ittaghara. 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 And that's it. So it's not really difficult. It's just a matter of learning something new. And yani, if you don't speak Arabic and you don't have a vast Arabic vocabulary, then this is not very significant to you, and maybe you see it as some very advanced case. But really, this is actually basic. And the pattern of ifta'ala is very common. Very, very, very frequent. And anytime you could have something that starts with a wow or a ya or a tha applied to ifta'ala, or a sad or a dad or a ta, or a dal or a thal or a zay. So which letters here? Let's take synopsis. He's finished talking about ifta'ala now. Here's synopsis. Synopsis of all what we've been talking about is that you have these letters. This wasn't ifta'ala. And certain letters are significant to this pattern because they trigger a change of some sort. Those letters are Sad, Dad, Ta, Dha, Dal, Dal, Ra, Wow, Ya, and Tha. So, whenever the fa of ifta'ala is Sad or Dad or Ta or Dha, then the Ta is going to turn into a Ta. And whenever the fa of ifta'ala is a dal or a dal or a ra, then the ta of ifta'ala is going to turn into a dal. And whenever the fa of ifta'ala is a wow or a ya or a tha, then that wow or ya or tha is actually going to flip into a ta itself. And then that ta is going to merge into the ta right after it of ifta'ala. And that's it. So, what's going to make this closer to you and more familiar to you and second nature to you is building your vocabulary. You said, is that a ra or a zay? Sorry, zay. Yeah, thank you. Barakallahu fikum means you are paying attention. Zay, why is doing that? Zay. Alhamdulillah. And that's it. So now he's done talking about ifta'ala. And we're going to stop there today. And let's just see what's coming. Now he wants to talk about nunu tokid, the noon of emphasis. But we have, as I mentioned to you, we have now just gone a little bit deeper. The grass is getting higher now. Then after nunu tokid, that's going to go for a while, nunu tokid. That's a hefty section there. Nunu tokid might take us 2 sessions or more. Then he's going to start talking about how to make the doers pattern, which we already got a taste of. We'll see, inshallah. Any questions?